For the first time ever, over half of Asia Pacific is covered by at least one social protection benefit. But improvement is still needed, especially with climate change growing. We have Kenichi Rose from ILO and Katinka Weinberger from SCAP to tell us more. First, what made the milestone possible? Go ahead, Ken.
This was made possible and supported by the robust economic growth. That's one of the reasons. And also that each country has made efforts to extend the coverage to cover various types of workers and to implement a new scheme, whether funded through the social insurance scheme or by tax-funded scheme.
Well, I think, firstly, this achievement is a very clear indication of how countries are gradually expanding both their contributory and their non-contributory social protection schemes to cover all life cycle contingencies. For example, both Georgia and the Maldives have transitioned to a multipolar pension system. So this means that they use the combination of a flat rate tax-financed pension, a contribution-funded pension, and voluntary private pensions. And this has enabled them to provide income security for all the individuals. But I would also like to emphasize that despite all of these achievements, it is important to recognize that nearly half of the population in Asia and the Pacific still lacks coverage in social protection. And there are some specific contingencies in particular where coverage is quite low. Many of them relate to work-related benefits. So this is an area where more efforts are still required.
Let's also talk about the setbacks. What key challenges do social protection systems within Asia Pacific currently face? Katinka?
There are a couple of additional challenges that countries in Asia and the Pacific face themselves with, and I would like to name especially three of them: climate change, then the demographic transition. We see an increasing aging in the region, and finally, the increasing digitalisation and the rapid pace, especially of digitalisation. And all of these factors are impacting the risk landscape in the region and therefore put pressure on our social protection systems, but also, in a way, offer opportunities for social protection systems. If I could just speak a little bit more to climate change, say our region clearly is heavily impacted by climate change events, both sudden as well as slow onset climate change events. We see, for instance, the impacts of climate change manifesting themselves through flooding. Another of these impacts on people manifests itself through heat waves, which makes it unable for people to work. And just looking over the region, ESCAP estimates indicate that 85% of the population will be impacted by increasing risk to climate change, even if we maintain the 1.5 scenario, which is quite unlikely that we'll maintain it, right? So this shows that there's an immense need for social protection systems to help to address these additional risks that people will be facing. Social protection could also play a really important role in enhancing climate resilience and also in supporting the introduction of policies related to climate mitigation and climate adaptation by making them more, by making it easier for people to accept these policies and to implement these policies.
Estimated number, about 2.1 billion persons are still have no access to social protection at all. And the social protection system in this region has multiple challenges, meaning that on the one hand, these countries have to expand the coverage and also improve the benefits. But at the same time, those social protection system needs to is facing new challenges caused by megatrends such as globalization, aging population, and also climate change. In the recent ILO report, we say that the social protection is achieving the universal social protection is a key to the achievement of SDG goals, so that the social protection is facilitate a just transition to a circular and clean economy.
And are there steps being taken to increase social protection funding within the region?
The world spends, on average, 93% of GDP for social protection, while the Asia Pacific spends at the moment 11.8%. That means they're 7.5% behind, as opposed to the above the global level coverage level. So that means that there is still a potential to increase the level of transfer. So far, as I mentioned, that social protection is a way of income transfer. Now, the coverage, because of the economic growth, the total pie, the total share, total GDP has grown very rapidly. However, the share allocated to social protection is still lagging behind. So that means that there is still scope and also potential for allocating more resources to social protection. We all know that there is a strong, there is the financial constraints are tighter and tighter, but here we still believe there is a potential to increase the social protection.
What I would like to emphasize is that progress in the region really varies. It hinges a lot on political will of governments. We know that there is a very good case for investing into social protection. Where studies have been done, we're able to demonstrate very high multiplier effects. But I think we need more studies on the impact of social protection spending to be able to make the case for higher investment into social protection. And the other side of that is that we also need to assess the fiscal capacity of governments and help to explore ways in expanding the fiscal space for social protection. Funding can also come from funds driven by natural resource extraction sources. Mongolia is an example of that. They financed its child money program by raising revenue from taxation of companies that are involved in natural resource extraction. But other sources of funding could come from increasing or from supporting the growth of contributory schemes in the region.
Thank you so much for your time today, Ken and Katinka.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Once again, those were Kenichi Hirose, Senior Social Protection Specialist of ILO Decent Work Team in Bangkok, and Katinka Weinberger, Chief of the Sustainable Socioeconomic Transformation Section of SCAP Social Development Division. For more news, visit esgbusiness.com.